Good evening. It is currently January 5th here in Montana. It's kind of unseasonably warm. You can see there's no snow on the ground. It was about 50 degrees today, which is about probably 30 degrees warmer than normal. Very little snow this winter, but it'll come. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you about growing some of your own food and a challenge that I have decided to do for myself. I am going to try to grow 10% of my family's caloric intake over the course of a year. So, of course, during the winter months like right now, I'll be way behind that. But as spring and summer and fall roll around, that'll increase, and hopefully we get enough of a surplus through the late summer and early fall to overcome our deficit and get into a surplus to see our family through the year and hit that 10% mark. And if we hit it, that's great. If we don't, you know, things happen, but at least we're doing something. And, that small fraction has a big impact. It increases your independence, increases your resilience, your understanding of what it means to produce your own food, what food costs, and what the value of food is. In Montana, we have a short growing season and we have long days during the summer, so there's pluses and minuses, to that. And, everybody's got to adapt to where they live. Now, some practical benefits is, you're making fewer trips to the grocery store. Guineas are going off, so it's a little noisy. You're producing your own staples, your vegetables, fruits, eggs, maybe some small meat. You might go out and forage, some wild fruits and berries, maybe some mushrooms. You can hunt and fish. It's a great buffer against any shortages or price spikes. So if you have a shortage, we've all lived through a shortage that happened recently and saw failures in our food supply, system. You can weather those a lot better. You can scale up, in response to that. It's a whole lot better to scale up a system that you have up and running and know than try to develop a system and hope it works. You've already gone through the hope it works part and figured out what works, what doesn't work, and scaling up is a lot easier. You'll have a diverse source of food. I mean, you can have, garden, you can have orchards, you can have berry patches, you can have small livestock. We've got some chickens and guineas, and we've got rabbits and whatnot. Our infrastructure isn't set up for larger animals, but we could conceivably do like sheep. We've done pigs before, so we could do pigs again. So we can do those smaller animals. We just couldn't do, beef or, I don't want to do goats. We had goats at one time and they didn't go too well. If you have a failure in one system, your other systems can compensate. You can increase the inputs and compensate for, a drought or a bad bug year, or, something getting in your chickens and killing some of your chickens or whatever. You can look at this from a financial savings point of view. What do you spend per week at the grocery store? And if you can save 10% of that, what are you going to do with that 10%? You can invest it. And, in the future years, that 10% savings is going to mean more and more, as it compounds out. Next year it's going to be 13%, worth 13%. In 15 years, you could probably have enough savings to, do a whole year's worth of food. You have better control over the quality of your food. You know that a vegetable that you grow out of your garden tastes a lot better than a vegetable that comes from Albertsons or Walmart or whatever. You know the nutrition, you know the nutrients of that food are so much higher. It's locally grown with your ground. It's got your uh, flora and fauna for your gut digestion already there. Um, your store-bought food is, chemically produced, and when it's digested, there's less nutrients, number one, and some of those nutrients aren't as available as anything that is naturally produced. You learn to see what works in your area. What variety of corn grows, what variety of tomatoes grow, which peppers can you grow, which apples will grow in your area, which ones grow without disease. You can develop your own landrace varieties of fruits, vegetables, even animals. After saving seed or breeding animals that fit your area over several generations, they get better suited for your area. You can even plan for specific traits. You can try to breed an apple that stays on the branch longer. You can try to breed an apple that has a better, a specific flavor. I mean, there's so many different flavors of apples out there. There are, ones that taste like berry. There's ones that have banana taste. There's some that are like savory. All those genetics are still there. They've just been bred to be less dominant from your commercial growers. But you can bring those back. You'll be eating fresher and more nutritious, more nutrient-dense food, so you'll eat less. Your body will crave less. Some of your cravings that you have is your body craving a nutrient, and your body kind of knows that this provides the nutrient, but since that nutrient isn't in that food, you eat more and more of it. And look at the difference between a egg from a farm or from your area and an egg from a grocery store. Look at the difference in the fruit and the produce. And let's say you raise, some protein. Let's say you raise pigs. How much better does the pork chop from your pig taste versus the one that came from Winco or Albertsons or whatever? That was raised as fast as possible with the as least amount of access to outside as the law dictates. So they have the least amount of input cost into it. That pig is only 4, 5, 6 months old, where when you're raising them out on pasture, they might be 9 months, 12 months old. They're going to have more of a chance to develop flavors and going to taste more like meat than chicken. Some other benefits of this is not just a direct benefit, but they're kind of lifestyle and value benefits. You're going to feel more connected to your land. You're going to have more connection to the seasons. Your body will cycle with the seasons just like the land. There's time to rest and there's time to work. Your body will naturally, I don't know how to put that. It'll naturally cycle just like your land will. You'll have more respect for the cycles and the work behind making food. You'll be educating and grounding yourself. Being out in the dirt, being out in nature, being out in the air. Those are all positive benefits. Even if it's not physical labor, it's still a positive result. You're gonna build self-reliance and resilience. You're gonna build your confidence. You're gonna build skills and a resilient mindset, you know, where when a problem comes, it won't just floor you. You know, you're gonna come about it like, okay, tackle that problem. What can we do about it? Is it a problem that I even need to worry about? And, you know, you're able to think and process that problem through a better channel, I guess. You know, you've got, especially if you got kids, you know, hands-on learning, you know, if you homeschool, you know, that's a great, you know, science, nature, homeschooling. Even if you don't homeschool, I mean, getting the kids out there helping you weed or plant or grow their own, you know, when they get a little older, you know, give them a patch of ground. Let them grow what they want to grow. Let them take care of some animals. Let them have the responsibility. Let them fail. Um, you're going to have more awareness and responsibility in yourself and your family. Um, you're going to have more care for the soil, the environment. You'll have better um, alignment with the environmental concerns of your land and the land around you. You'll care more for not just the, the animals and the crops that you produce, but all of it. You know, the wild animals that interact with you, the plants that are around, the insects, the the fungi that's in the ground. It's all connected, and you'll learn that over time. You know, with the nutrient dense food, you're going to have better inputs in your body. Your body will work better. Your brain will function better. It'll encourage your more mindful and connective lifestyle. So, you know, that 10% isn't just a target number. I mean, it is a target number, but I mean, it's not a pass or a fail. You know, get out there and do something. You know, start learning what works for your land, for your balcony, for, you know, the little side yard that you have, you know, and experiment. Try different things. You know, if something fails, it fails. You learn something, you move on, and you try something else. Um, you're going to learn, you know, different gilding techniques for plants, you know, what plants work together. I'm going to, from time to time, have a video and document what we've got going on. Right now, I don't have a whole lot. We've got some chickens laying eggs, got some rabbits, but there's nothing that's bred right now. Um, I have started some seeds inside under light, some lettuces and stuff like that, so that'll, you know, maybe in a month or so we'll start harvesting some lettuce and stuff like that. But we'll start ramping up here in the next couple of months and start having more and more food being produced, and I'll keep track of that, you know, in video. I will also have all of this plus some spreadsheets and whatnot, some more detail in my Discord channel. And if you would like to join, you know, please feel free to join, and I'd like to hear your guys' input, you know, where you're living at, you know, what you're doing, what you think I'm doing wrong, what you think I'm doing right. And I hope everybody has a bountiful 2026.